Hello, everyone, and welcome to the speaker series. I am Shannon Thompson. I'm the Story Center Program Manager, and tonight I'm here to welcome you to the speaker series celebrating Nikki Lenz's latest release, The Stepmom Shakeup. Here to interview Nikki Lenz is Reader Services Coordinator Lisa Palmer. All right.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here to talk about my book. It's going to be so fun.
Congratulations on your new release.
Thank you. Isn't that a pretty cover?
Oh, it's lovely. It's so inviting. And who doesn't like milkshake at the same time, too?
Exactly.
So I always like to start when I have a conversation with an author is some following questions, such as what made you want to become a writer?
I always loved making up stories. I was always writing in a diary or a journal, and I always loved to read. So I was always kind of a storyteller, but when I became a stay-at-home mom is when I really started writing seriously, because it was something I could do during nap time to avoid cleaning, and
I love it.
and just to keep myself entertained and to use my brain. And so that's really when I started writing seriously. And even though I was writing seriously, I don't know that I ever really thought that anything I wrote would ever be published, but here we are.
Determination and courage, and you'll make it. I will. So did you always want to write kid literature?
Well, when I first started writing, I actually wrote a couple of young adult books, like for teenagers, and those were pretty terrible. When I wrote my very first middle grade book, I was like, oh, this is much better for me. There's something about writing a kid's voice. You can either do it or you can't do it. And so I just thought I would capitalize on that skill I realized I had.
Yeah, you definitely do. I don't actually read a lot of middle grade fiction, and it's been a long while since I've picked one up, and I really could see that, oh my goodness, Nikki knows how to talk about children in their own voice, and give them kind of their substance in comparison to an adult substance without, it's hard to describe, without making them childish.
Yeah.
Making them like mini humans, yes. Real people.
I'm around a lot of kids. I'm a substitute teacher, and so I'm in the classrooms a lot. And then I have two children of my own, one of which is a middle grade age. My daughter's 11 now, so
you've got a lot of experience.
Yes.
Right there. So tell me a little bit about the Stepmom Shakeup. Give us a little introduction about it.
Okay, well, the Stepmom Shakeup is kind of like The Parent Trap, the movie The Parent Trap, but in reverse. In the movie The Parent Trap, the girls are trying to get the parents together. Yeah. In this story, Grace and her dad are very close. Their mom has passed away, and so when the dad starts dating, she starts pranking all of his dates because she doesn't think that he needs to see anybody.
One of the things that really jumped out to me with the books is that it is fun, it's enjoyable. You can't help but giggle with what Grace is trying to do to swap these issues of possible relationships, but you also got moments of just realism, real issues that could happen. How do you manage to blend that well together? Do you always have a purpose to say, look, I want to give a message out in my book, or does it just naturally come?
Yeah, actually, one of the first things that I think about when I'm starting a new project is what the theme is going to be, because that directs a lot of the plot, and as well as the subplots. You want it to all kind of mirror each other and enhance the main plot. So while Grace is kind of struggling with what would her family look like if they added another person? You know, her best friend's family is experiencing, they are adopting a family member, a 2-year-old. And she kind of sees how that disrupts their family and makes her think about her own situation. So I think the theme that I was trying to show is that there's room in the family for more. Like, you can always add more love, and that families look different. Every family's different. And yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
And I have to say, a little bit educational as well. I love the motif of the presidents throughout, with Grace collecting bobbleheads.
Yes, Grace and her dad, one thing that they have in common is that they are both really into presidential history. And so they, like you said, Grace collects bobbleheads of the presidents. They like to cosplay, dress up like the presidents. They like to quiz each other. They're going on like these road trips to all these different presidential sites. So it's just kind of a fun thing that they enjoy doing together. I was trying to think, like, what would a single dad and a daughter enjoy doing together, you know? So that was kind of what I came up with.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I learned a lot, I have to admit too. But you don't even realize you're learning these keynotes about presidents because you're just having fun with this story.
Right.
But the thing is, are you a history buff?
Oh, I love history. I loved researching this. And kind of a fun thing that was an accident is that she picks Teddy Roosevelt for her school project. And it wasn't until I was drafting it that I realized that Teddy Roosevelt had a blended family. His first wife passed away, and he had a daughter with the first wife, and then he remarried. And so that really fit into the theme of the story. So that was a happy accident. I didn't start out to do that.
Well, I'm looking at the live comments. If you're watching, please go ahead, add a comment where Nikki's here. She will answer them for us. So I'm looking at the questions. Shannon, can you put one up? I see one here from Norma. Oh, here we go. What was your favorite? Oh, here we go. What was your favorite history fact she learnt while researching? Most unexpected.
Oh, let's see. I learned that Teddy Roosevelt was blind in one eye because of a boxing injury. Didn't know that.
Okay, boxing and eyeballs don't go very well together. So what helped you develop as an author? This is from Norma.
Oh, what helped me develop as an author? I think I've first of all, I read a ton. I just read a lot of books. And I think the more you read, the more you just internalize story structure and all those components. And so that's one thing. But then I've also read a lot of craft books, like books about writing. I would say that Lisa Cron's books, the Story Genius and what's the other one? Wired for Story, have probably been the two books that have helped me the most as far as figuring out what theme is and how that relates to plot. And it's really changed the way I think about stories.
So we were talking before we came on air that was it this one that you started during NaNoWriMo, or was it your previous one? Was it this one?
I have actually written, I want to say 13 manuscripts, and almost all of them have been during a NaNoWriMo or a Camp NaNoWriMo. I just really need a deadline, and I like fast drafting. Like, I want to just get the first draft down, and then I can take time and fix it.
So you are a seasoned NaNoWriMo.
Yes.
And this is one from NaNoWriMo too.
So was Bernice Butman, Model Citizen. My first book was a nano book too.
Well, there's some inspiration for you peeps. So do you have any NaNoWriMo tips?
Ooh, yes. Okay, so I have to lie to myself a lot when I'm trying to fast draft. And usually the first thing I will lie to myself about is I'll be like, okay, you don't really have to write today. Just open the document. Just read what you wrote yesterday. And then I'll be like, okay, well, I kind of know what should happen after this. So I'll just write for like 5 minutes. If I can just make myself write for 5 minutes, then I can quit. And then before you know it, you've written the whole next scene. So it really, if I tell myself you have to go in and write, then I tend to be rebellious, even against myself. So
there you go, people, no excuse. So another thing I wanted to ask about the Stepmom Shakeup is we've definitely got research in there, the history research, but how do you come up with the story idea? Who she is, their relationship, the little activities that happen, because for me it was very unique, him being I've forgotten the word, is a pastor or a pastor in a church. How did you come up with this structure for this story?
Well, as far as the very first kernel of the story happened when we were having some friends over for dinner, and I asked everyone to share a story about their childhood because I'm really bad at small talk and I am really fun at parties. So one person was telling about how his dad was a pastor, and him and his brother used to go with his dad to the hospital, and when he would go to pray with sick people, and that him and his brother would play hide and go seek in the hospital. And I thought that for some reason that just stuck with me. And before long, I ended up writing a scene where a girl goes with her dad to the hospital with her best friend, and they're playing hide and go seek in the hospital. Right. And so that was the first scene that I wrote. And then I kind of, from that scene, figured out kind of at least the relationship between the dad and the daughter and what the conflict of the story would be. And it kind of spun out from there.
One of my favorite bits is actually right at the very start when he comes down in the Christmas tie and it's after Christmas, and she basically said, that's a joke, you need to wear something different, and there she is in polka dots and stripes and everything else. It was just so quirky. It was such a fun read. What was your favorite part about writing that book? And this is from Jessica.
Oh, okay. So this is my favorite part about writing the book. It starts with my least favorite part, which is that this book went through a ton of revisions. It went through massive rounds of revisions with just my critique partners, and then with my agent, and then with Random House before they bought it, and then with Random House after they bought it. And so after I'd done all of this, I felt like the book was in a pretty good condition, and then I got my second edit letter from Random House, and it had a whole new outline in it. And so I kind of cried every time I opened it. Like, it was pretty intense. They wanted 6 new scenes and all this, like, cutting characters, and it was like intense for a second round of edits, which is usually more or less just kind of cleaning up. Right. So anyways, I'm getting to my favorite part, which is that I was so stressed out and so just like out of ideas that I went to my 11-year-old daughter and kind of like took her by the shoulders and shook her and was like, what would you do if you were trying to make 2 adults fall in love? And she said, I would give them 1 milkshake with 2 straws. And so I was like, okay. So I like went back and I wrote the scene where they use that as a trick to kind of get them together. And then that ended up changing the title. That's where the cover came from. So that's my favorite part about this book, is that my daughter contributed. And also she is a big inspiration for the character of Grace. Like,
I love that. I just love that. And that's something to keep down the line. I was the inspiration for this book. So you said there was a lot of revision, a lot of editing. So when we so tell us a little bit about some revision tips that what you do, and also, are you a planner? Like you have it gridded out, or do you just fly by each day and see how it goes in your mind?
I am a major planner. I definitely have a full outline before I ever start writing. I want to know at least generally what's going to happen in every scene. So, no, I'm not good at pantsing, because I would, that means writing by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
It would scare me to just like look at a blank page each day. I have to have like a starting point. And my revision tips would be, when I first get an edit letter, I read through it and then I put it away for a few days. And I just kind of try and think and sort of let my subconscious kind of work through things. Some things will resonate with you right away and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know exactly how to fix that. And then other things you kind of have to chew on for a while. So definitely give it a few days. And then if your editor is up for it, it always helps to, after you've thought about it for a few days, talk to your editor on the phone or something, just to talk things out and make sure that you're kind of on the same page for how you see the revisions going. And then what I usually do is start with the easiest things first, because I print out the edit letter and then I can cross things off as I go. So I start with the easiest things first and then work on the big things a little bite at a time.
Peel away at it bit by bit.
Exactly.
We do have a question. I believe this is from Gail. Do you have it, Shannon? Oh, here we go. Did you have experience in a blended family personally? What inspired you to write about that?
I don't have experience being in a blended family, but I really loved the movie The Parent Trap growing up. And so that The Parent Trap was a big inspiration. There's even some references in there. And so that's kind of where that aspect came from. Not from me personally.
It was just like, what's the film? Yours, Mine, and Ours.
Yes, I love that one.
And everybody's got their own different personalities and you blend together. So there's lots of comedic in your writing. You can't help but smile and giggle in these places with these. You've got really poignant parts, but then you start laughing again. What do you like about writing humor? Does humor come to you easily, or?
Well, humor is my favorite thing to write, because when I'm writing, I really am trying to entertain myself, first of all. And I crack myself up, obviously. So that's kind of why I enjoy it. I don't know. I just find it more entertaining. Also, I'm a person that like absorbs feelings, from my surroundings and from other people. And if I'm working on something really dark and sad for like a year at a time, it would not put me in a good mental state.
So what is your writing day like? How do you go each day to make sure that you hit those deadlines for your agents and such?
Well, I don't write every single day. I kind of go through periods of, if I'm drafting something new, I'll write every day for a month, but I don't write every single day. My daily schedule is usually, everything's weird right now, but usually if I'm substitute teaching, I'll just bring my laptop with me, and there's lots of plan time where substitutes don't really have anything to do. So that's when I know I only have like 45 minutes or an hour to work on it. So I actually kind of work best under those kind of crunch time times. When my kids were little, it was always just like during their nap times was the only time I could write. So I'm kind of used to that. If I had all day to write, I don't know that I would be that productive.
So people, there's no excuse not to write, because Nikki, it sounds like you do substitute teaching as well as being a writer as well. Hat off to you. There's no excuse, people. No excuse. So Story Center has added a question here. If your book was a movie, who would you cast?
Oh no, I don't know any like child actors off the top of my head. My daughter would make a great Grace because she's really just sassy like that. She has a wild sense of style and she's really into pranks, but she is not a trained actress, so it would be quite the gamble on the studio's part.
So are you working on anything new?
Oh, yes. Actually, my agent has several manuscripts at the moment, and we're waiting to figure out what to send out next. And I have an idea for the next thing I want to write, but probably will be around July before I start actually working on that. I had to, virtual teach my kids and
Oh yeah. Oh, that's understandable. I definitely get that. So do we have any other questions here? Because I feel like I'm hogging all your attention. Oh, that's true. If you're interested in a signed book, first of all, you can get them from Rainy Day Books, and they have signed copies there also. So you can be a proud owner of one of these books. Absolutely. So as a writer, you've been doing NaNoWriMo to help give you those deadlines. You found that your niche was in the kids literature.
Mm-hmm.
How do you write kids literature and be within a kid's form? I'm probably not explaining right. When people want to write, they go, I'm writing this for a child, but then it seems a lot older in the language and how it states. And then either you got the big difference where it's too childish and takes away. How do you get that that better medium in regards writing for that age group?
I think it's a combination of spending time with real kids. Like you have to be around real kids all the time to listen and really listen to how they talk.
Right.
And then just go through your manuscript line by line. Every time a kid talks, really think about, is this how a kid would say this? That is one of the most common comments that I write on people's manuscripts when they ask me to read them. If they have kid characters, is just, is this how a kid would say that? Is that really what a kid would say? I think the more you can kind of focus on that, the more authentic your kid voice will be.
Right. That's the key. You just said it. Authentic. So Norma actually did send me a question through Shannon earlier today. So, and she says, what helped you develop as an author? Did you take courses, read books, have writing partners? In other words, what's your secret to success?
Oh, I've done all that stuff. I think what I first did when I wanted to be an author was Google how to become an author, just like Bernie Sputman would do. And something that I read said, well, if you want being an author to be your job, then you need to do the things that authors do. So they listed off like reading craft books, going to writing conferences, joining a writer's group, getting a critique partner. So I just did all those things and just, this is what happened.
Well, it works. It works. Your debut with Butman. I like to call it the Butman book. And now the Stepmom Shakeup, and I can't wait to see what you're going to write next. I've thoroughly enjoyed reading this.
Oh, thank you.
So I don't believe we have any more questions right now. If you are watching this, we would love you to take our questionnaire. our virtual programming questionnaire, because we like to make sure that we know what you want, and keep bringing you fantastic programs. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
But I always leave with one last question. Rainy Day Books, in conjunction with our Story Center, we are a story center that inspires writers. So I like to end with, what one piece of advice would you give an inspiring author?
I would just say, don't give up. Just keep going. Do it because you love it, regardless of what the actual outcome may be.
Mhm.
And I think if you write what you love and what you're passionate about, that eventually good things will happen.
Right. Absolutely. And people, remember, you have the Story Center, so always log on to see what classes they've got and things going on to keep you inspired. So, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I hope you come back again.
I do too. Thank you.